TechAfrica News Podcast from Africa for Africa. In partnership with Smart Africa. Good morning from Johannesburg. We're here at another episode of the TechAfrica News Podcast. My name is Akim Benamara, and I'm here together with Philip Besiimire, CEO of Vodacom Tanzania. Hello, nice to meet you again.
Hello, Akim, and good to meet you too.
25 years of Vodacom Tanzania. So, Philip, that's a remarkable milestone. When you look back at Vodacom Tanzania's journey and story, what stands out as the biggest or, let's say, most diverse of transformation and growth?
Thank you. That's probably a loaded question because 25 years is a lot. There's a lot that you can pack in 25 years. But I always want to summarize our 25 years as a story of, grit and determination, a story of passion, and a story of purpose. Grit and determination because in the last 25 years, we've come from almost no connectivity to now having, more than, 22 million Tanzanians connected. 22 million Tanzanians with access to, the world of information, commerce, trade, health, education, financial services. So, but to do that, and why for me it's all about grit is it takes a lot of effort, it takes a lot of, commitment, drive, the determination to overcome barriers, and those barriers are multifaceted, whether they are policy related, sometimes infrastructure challenges, access to certain markets and so on. So it's taken a lot of determination of very many talented teams to really get to where we are today, and also the reception or receptiveness of our customers and Tanzanians who've embraced all these services and products and innovation that we've brought into the market. I also say passion because if you're just seeing how it excites me, it excites my team, but those there today and those there before us, that over the last 25 years, there was always a team of very capable Tanzanians, Vodacomers, who really kept on pushing the need of innovation, that need of determination to really get us to where we are today. And wow, if you look at the stable of products, solutions that we have and what we've been able to accomplish over these 25 years, it's a story. It's really such an overwhelming story, even when I tell it. And then I say purpose because, we've not just connected customers and, made revenue and, gotten all these accolades on so many, whether it's on the financial indicators, customer metrics, and so on, but we've also done it with purpose and in a very meaningful and impactful way over these 25 years. And I can tell you so many initiatives that are a first in Tanzania, but also so many initiatives that we are particularly proud of as Vodacom Tanzania to have done and been a part of. One that really sticks out, for example, over the last so many years, 5+ years, is the story of M-Mama, where we've brought technology into maternal health. And someone said, but these two are unrelated. Why is Vodacom involved with maternal health? But that's really the purpose and passion that I'm talking about, using technology to solve a problem or a challenge that exists in the country. And now a mother in a far out area who's having complexities with her pregnancy can actually call using a short code, can call for an ambulance service. And the innovation around this is that we're not talking about your traditional expected ambulances coming to you to the rescue of this expectant mother. We're talking about a community driver who's turned their vehicle into an ambulance for emergency situations to drive that expectant mother in distress to the nearest healthcare facility. This takes grit and the determination, but also takes innovation on the other hand, and that's really what's brought this is the purpose that I'm talking about. So, what sticks out for me, I think it's those things that stick out. Think of financial services. Today, M-Pesa is almost 18 years, actually turning 19 next year, so 18 years of financial services. A mobile phone that many years ago was thought of to be just for calls and texting. Obviously, over the years, it's evolved. You can use for data services and all this. Yeah. But millions of Tanzanians are now using their mobile phone to transfer money from one point to another point, to another person. They're using their mobile phone to pay for services. They're using their mobile phone to take short-term credit, whereby take a case of a product that we call Songesha, and it's an overdraft product. And you won't even find these in Europe or anywhere in the Western world. You walk into a supermarket and you want to buy a product and it costs, 5,000 Tanzanian shillings, or if, let's say it costs $2, but you only have, $1.50 on you. In that moment, you can actually take an overdraft to top up so that you can get to the $2 and pay for the product or service that you want. We've revolutionized financial services and brought so many people into the ambit of formal financial services, something that was unimaginable. In the traditional financial world, we were the penetration in that space for financial services, formal financial services, was under 26% just 5 years ago. Fast forward today, we're talking about 76% formal financial penetration, all driven by mobile financial services, and obviously with M-Pesa taking the lead, because today we had 40 plus market share of mobile financial services in Tanzania. So there's so many stories I can tell, whether they are about the innovation we've brought to the market through our products and services, or even through our purpose-led initiatives like the M-Mama that I just spoke about, and so many other interventions that we've brought into the marketplace. So long answer, but I think it shows you the passion, and there's so many stories that I can pack in 25 years in this short.
So it was 25 years in a nutshell.
Partly, because there's a lot more I could say about the 25 years. But yes, I'm really, really proud of what we've been able to do as Vodacom Tanzania.
If you look at telcos in general, are they, perceived as more like a one-dimensional business, voice, connectivity, that's it. So now we have financial inclusion. And you earlier mentioned also the support with maternity concerns or address concerns and support women in that journey. Is it more from a strategic point of view, or is it a real passion of understanding the market needs and dynamics? Because when we look at Africa, we see that quite often we don't really understand what Africans really need in the local market. So is it more from that side? So what drives you?
It's a bit of both, Akim. We have, from a strategic point of view, yes, because if you look at our Vision 2030 that the Group CEO announced a few months back, there is a pillar in there that says beyond mobile, right? So, from a solutions point of view or products and innovation in the market, we are deliberate or intentional as Vodacom, as part of the Vodacom Group, but also as Vodacom Tanzania, to go beyond mobile. So, the traditional construct that you speak of, yes, that's where we were many years ago. But which then takes me to your next part of the question, which was, is it also being responsive to the uniqueness of Tanzania? Yes. We being in the market, we see the opportunities, we get insights from the market, and we respond to those insights in a way that's practical and the way that actually is adjacent to or complementary in many times to our business. So
listening to the market.
We're listening to the market. And financial services is one of those such services. Yeah. And even you could take a step back and say, when we started 18 years ago with M-Pesa, the problem we were solving at that point in time was moving money from point A to point B. Yeah. Today, we think that that problem has been largely solved. Yes, there's still a need, and that's still probably one of our biggest use cases on mobile money with M-Pesa. But we've now gone into even other opportunities that we believe we can bring immense value to with our technology, with our innovation, and with what my group CEO calls the system of advantage. In other words, taking advantage of the scale and expertise or competencies we've built in other parts of the business. So we're able to do, for example, lending. Credit is a big problem to solve in our markets. I think the IFC in Tanzania says there is a 3 trillion shilling gap of credit to the small, medium enterprise business. So we're stepping in there and providing credit to small businesses, to individuals that are looking for short-term financing gaps between, their day-to-day business needs, and sometimes also for, domestic consumption.
But that's limited only to your clients, where you actually have a financial track record, or is it open basically for everyone?
No, I think we, and this is the thing about being adapting to the environment. You start off with traditionally financial institutions can only lend, for example, because they have your financial information.
Yes.
The advantage that we have being a mobile operator is that actually I know you beyond just your financial records. I can see that you are a Vodacom customer. You've been with me for the last 25 years or for the last 10 or whatever years, and I can see that every week you top up your mobile account with this much data, with this much airtime credit. So I have a history with you, and I can actually, based on that history, score you and say, yes, you can actually take credit from me. So we are doing things that traditional financial institutions, as an example, would not be able to do because they don't have access to that data. And we have access to that data. We're able to use it in a meaningful way because, now it adds value to our business, but also to the customer, because now the customer doesn't have to come and bring forms of data records and bring your home title, whatever, certificate of of your home ownership. We are actually being able to use different data to score the customer and lend them. So these are some of the, I think, to your original question. On the one hand, it's a group strategy to diversify beyond mobile, to grow beyond mobile, but also we are responsive to the market needs and the opportunities that we see being in country and in the market. Yeah.
So when we look back at financial inclusion, you just mentioned lending for small, medium businesses. So what impact can you see already in the market of these, let's say, empowering opportunities you give to businesses?
I think, like I just said a short while ago, a study that I was referring to, that there is more than 3 trillion lending gap in the market for small enterprises alone.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Today, we are lending more than 3 million users every month, who are taking all sorts of credit facilities.
Yeah.
And this is because we have products that are easy to use, easy to understand, and accessible for day-to-day customers. Like I said, we serve a gap in the market that is for customers that have got short-term financing needs, and is easy to we're able to bridge that need or bridge that gap for financing in a very easy, fast way for a customer. Like I said, they don't have to go and get all this paperwork and so on and so forth, because we already have, quote unquote, that paperwork because of the data that we have about that individual customer. So from a lending point of view, small businesses, individuals, and what started off as short-term sort of top-up loans for customers has now gone into short-term loans, whether 30 days, 60 days, 90 days sort of facilities. And sometimes customers are borrowing as small as, $10 just for the need that they want. It's a top up. I just need to finance this need now, and I would ordinarily not be able to maybe purchase all the school materials for my son, my daughter, because I'm short of just $10. Now with Vodacom's M-Pesa, you're able to get that top up, and you'll be able to complete that financial transaction. Or I'm a small business owner, and I need working capital of $30 to $100 for this week to be able to buy all these supplies. And I would, on another day, I would probably go to an unlicensed lender who will charge exorbitantly, who's going to ask for this and that and that. Now I can actually, because I'm a M-Pesa customer or because I'm a Vodacom customer, I can actually just apply on my phone, and I'll be scored real time, and I'll be given the money that I'm looking for. So what we're seeing is that depending on the segment and on the value, this is growing, quite rapidly every month, and we see more and more customers actually getting into the realm of financial inclusion. And this is something that even the central bank acknowledges back in Tanzania. They do recognize the value that mobile financial services has brought to financial inclusion in Tanzania. If you look at the financial inclusion study done by FSDT in Tanzania, they have acknowledged the value that mobile money brings to the sector. One of the key measures that they actually track is proximity to a financial services point, and you'll find that today, with the exception of 2 or 3 regions, I think they say more than 90% of Tanzanians are within 5 kilometers to a financial services point. It's massive, and that's been built by mobile money operators, but led mostly by Vodacom Tanzania, which means that within a radius of 5 kilometers, a Tanzanian can actually get to a formal financial service point and get either get money, withdraw money, or whatever other financial transaction they want to do. And this is just I think this is the beginning. Mobile money continues to have various use cases that we will continue to expand into. You have products like insurance that are just nascent products that are just ready to take off if we can disrupt the traditional model and make it easy. And I think for us, it's the fact that we've almost, it's a cliche, but we've democratized the use of mobile money or the use of formal financial services.
So when you just mentioned that the central bank also, let's say, acknowledged the positive impact of mobile money. And if we see basically we see in a lot of governments the short-term object of just raising taxes, on the mobile sector. But on the other side, you support the digital economy in a way probably a traditional bank wouldn't be able to. So what do you think when we're going to see the, let's say, change of mindset in the governments and the regulators?
It's a tricky question. But I think governments are sort of caught between a rock and a hard place, to be fair to them. Whilst on the one hand, at a policy level, or let me say the rhetoric is, financial services is expanding access to, or is actually deepening financial inclusion, broadband, access to broadband allows citizens to participate meaningfully in the global economy, and is the way to go. I mean, there is a statistic that's always passed around that for every 10% of broadband access to broadband, or you get a 0.1% of GDP growth, and so they understand all these things. But I think it's always about trying to find the balance between taxing for revenue and taxing for growth. And I think most governments end up in taxing for revenue because they're trying to meet a short-term revenue challenge.
Okay.
And that's not sustainable because it means that all these things that we talk about become very hard to achieve. Today, we have a Vision 2050 in Tanzania. And if you unpack that vision, it's underpinned by, digital enablement. That digital enablement or digital capabilities will help the government achieve Vision 2050. So one would then expect that all the underlying policies should support that, including taxation, including incentives to allow for massive investment into this digital space, whether it's infrastructure or just a participative economy. And you find that becomes a friction point every year. Actually, every year when we get to the budget season for government budget season, it's a tense time because there is a likelihood that government is going to increase one or two taxes within the sector, whilst on the other hand, there is all these promises of actually digital enablement and digital inclusion and expanding access and. So I think for me that's really the challenge for governments, really finding the right balance between revenue growth, revenue collection, and actually growing the economy through enabling policies. For example, lowering the barriers to access, which include the infrastructure deployment. If you look at the customs duties and all the taxes that are related to importation of capital goods that allow us to lay infrastructure, that's still quite on the high side. If you look at the duties that are applied on smartphones, that's still quite high. Then if you look at excise tax that's applied on mobile services, whether it's the internet, you have a 17% excise tax, you have an 18% VAT, and you have all these other duties like royalty fees to the regulator, numbering fees, and everybody that wants and feels like they can get a fee from the telco sector, they all coming and knocking at our doors. So I think it's for me harmonization of those policies, harmonization of regulatory demands, and trying to make sure that we find the right balance between the objective to collect revenue, to obviously be able to provide services to the citizenry, but also allow for the sector and industry to grow in such a way that we all lead up to the 2050 vision that has been articulated.
You mentioned taxation for growth, and I really like that example because it makes totally sense. The conversation about seeing the mobile sector just as a pure revenue stream is not a new conversation. We have that since the last 5 to 10 years, to be honest. What has to happen that we finally unlock that potential for the digital economy in each, let's say, society or country, and finally using the mobile sector as the opportunity for digital growth instead of taxing higher and higher and higher? Because I just can imagine, if I look at a mobile operator, at some point you must operate a business where you already struggle. You must keep the data prices low that your clients are not, let's say, we must enable and empower them. But on the other side, you get taxation after taxation and obstacle after obstacle. So what has to happen?
I think government always wants proof points that some of these suggestions that come from the sector are not selfish, whereby we're just looking at ourselves and thinking and wanting to get the best possible policy outcome versus what their objectives are. A good example is about three years ago, the government in Tanzania introduced levies on mobile money. And these were levies over and above the existing taxes. And so we already pay 10% excise duty on mobile money, and obviously the VAT that comes with that. So they introduced a levy on cash out and P2P transfers. And as an industry, we saw almost 3 million, give or take 3 million mobile money users exit the category or the sector.
So there's
And
an immediate effect.
there was immediate effect. And they had an ambition to collect a certain amount of revenue, and they were missing that amount. They didn't know. So it was clear that they were not, what they set out to achieve was being missed.
It was a backlash.
So, absolutely. And then there was a backlash over and above that. The population was up and saying, what's going on? Yeah. Obviously, gradually, they withdrew those fees, and now there is a small levy that's been, well, not a small, but there is a levy that's been left only on cash out, right? And what's happened is that ever since that was reversed, we've actually seen, at least from a Vodacom point of view, we've seen M-Pesa transactions grow back to pre-levy levels and even exceed that by almost 20+%. And that's one case in point, that where we've shown them that actually when you tax for growth versus taxing for revenue, you actually can get an upside on that, which goes back to the point I made earlier on. What's the optimal point? That's one sort of example. The other example I would give is that today we have more than 10 million M-Pesa users, right? Active users. The majority of these were Tanzanians that were completely outside of the, realm of the tax collector or even government or even the central bank. And we process more than 3 trillion shillings a month, right? Transactions that go through our platform. This was money that government had no visibility of, the taxman had no visibility of, the central bank had no visibility of. Now, all of a sudden, they're getting value beyond just what they're collecting. At least they can, now there is more very meaningful data that they can use to shape policy and come up with strategies. Okay, what are people transacting with? Where are they going? Who's being paid? How often are those payments? Okay, so that sector actually is thriving. So they can get real-time or near real-time data on what's happening in the economy, and they can which informs their policies even better than they previously did. Thirdly, I believe that when citizens are a lot more efficient in how they operate, it has an incremental value to just economic activity. I don't have to get onto a bus to take money from point A to point B to make a payment. I can do it in the comfort of my home. So there's an added layer of convenience, and that convenience has a value that the economy becomes a lot more efficient, a lot more nimble, robust, and there is economic activity happening at a much faster rate than previously happened. And all these things actually they can see, because if I use the example I made at first, that when levies were introduced, things slowed down. And now you start to see this lethargy sort of spread into the rest of the economy, because now people are resorting to cash. And now they must get on to those motorbikes, if you know borders, to be able to move money from point A to point B, something that could easily be solved by a click of a button on a mobile phone.
But it almost feels like the mobile sector is under constant investigation where we can take money. Because if you see logically, if you take out the mobile sector from the continent, from a mobile-first continent, you have no economy.
Yeah, it's an interesting question. And that's why I think, kudos to the government that when I say, if you look at their vision 2050, it's underpinned by digital transformation, right? So they do understand that. And that's so to your question, yes, we've now become a catalyst for economic growth, for the livelihood of people. We are really the engine of how economies, lives of ordinary citizens, companies, name it. Digital is really at the core of how countries work, of how people work, of how families work. And I think we have such a massive responsibility as companies like Vodacom Tanzania to actually use that power responsibly, because, a lot is really dependent on how we are able to make it possible for for businesses, for people to really operate. So yes, if you pull it out, the impact is immediate, and that's the true nature of the economy today, of the world today. Tanzania today has probably, I think they say over 75% of the population is under the age of 25, right?
Yeah.
Under the age of 25, that means 75% of the population has grown in the internet age.
Yeah.
So they grew up with the internet from day one. So for them, internet is a part of life. It's, for older folks like us, there was a time before before the internet was a real thing. Today that's not possible because kids are born with the internet, with a smartphone in their hands, with a tablet. And even though access is still a challenge in some communities and income groups, they too are getting connected at a faster rate than they did 25 years ago when we started. The world has completely changed, and we are at the center of that change.
You just mentioned that Tanzania also has a very, let's say, young demographic, let's say, environment. If you look at Africa, I think 50% of whole Africa are below 30. So when we have a closer look at financial inclusion, because everything starts with building a financial track record. The younger you start, you clear up your finances, the more opportunities you have. So how do you help, or how can you help women and probably the younger generation to, let's say, introduce them formally into this digital finance ecosystem?
Very good question, and that goes to my point at the start when I said over the last 25 years, one of the things that excites me most is really the fact that we've been purpose-led over the 25 years. Maybe we are a lot more eloquent about it now than we did 25 years ago, but it's always been in our fabric. And I'm particularly excited about some of the programs that we are deliberately running as Vodacom Tanzania. We're enabling young girls to learn how to code, and we have a Code Like a Girl program. We have Tech Start, and we've also, with one of our tech vendors, and now doing a DigiTrack where we take, we have this sort of computer lab on wheels kind of thing where we take this track across the country in very remote areas for young people, and recently also trying to look at the opportunity with elderly people to really get first-hand skills or first-hand sort of opportunities with ICT capabilities. But take a case of Code Like a Girl. There are very many heartwarming stories there, from girls who had never thought that they could actually get into that world. It was overwhelming. They thought it was, something for somebody else. And now some of them have actually gone on, and these are girls under the age of 18. And many of them, or some of them actually, have gone on to actually take STEM-led subjects at university. We have some that are now doing, computer engineering at universities. We have some of them that have graduated as, IT engineers. And so for me, that's such a big story that we probably don't tell often enough, that, that's the kind of access that we're talking about. And now with our Tech Start program, we're opening up the doors for young students, young people in Tanzania to start playing around with AI tools and all these things. I mean, it's really just going to open up and get even bigger. And we sometimes take these things for granted when you have access to them. But when my team, or the team in Tanzania, goes into these rural areas and equip a lab in a school that had one or two computers, that had no connectivity to the internet, and now they put an internet connection in there, a computer lab with 20 plus computers, updated software and so on. And you see these kids' eyes light up. You see the teachers really get excited about what they're able to do going forward. For me, that's heartwarming. And we've done, hundreds of these schools, and every year we equip so many schools with these computer labs. So I think being purpose-led, is not. I think we've really moved on from the days of just this being a tick box exercise where companies did that. For us, it's really in our fabric. We're able to take the resources that we have, the expertise that we have, and actually intertwine that with societal needs in an impactful way. And you then see the results of that, like I said, with young girls coming through now as, for example, for internships as our graduate trainees. And they tell, I participated in the Vodacom Code Like a Girl, 6 years ago. And like, wow, did you really think you were going to be in ICT? No, I did that program and it changed my life because, and when you are in these Code Like a Girl sessions and see what these girls are doing, always interesting to see. For example, some of the programs is to build websites whilst in those few days that they're there, and then you see these girls build a website, and you say, "What website are you trying to build?" I'm building a website to make it possible for children with a challenge, maybe with heart conditions, to be able to connect with a doctor and so on. Even at that level, they're thinking about making a difference in lives, but they didn't know that they could do that before, and now they've got. They've learned how to code and they're building a website and they leave that environment. Next, they're telling their parents, I want to do computer science at college, at university. So very, very exciting to be a part of this journey.
So what do you think AI could, let's say, or what role could AI play in that regards?
Firstly, it's an evolving world. I don't think I'm the expert, but the little I know about AI and the opportunities that I see around us is, I think it will help simplify so many processes today that are currently probably manual or take a lot of human effort to actually get to, and allow people to be more productive. So whether you're analyzing, stacks and stacks of data, trying to understand trends and so on, these are things that AI can help simplify, so that we put human effort into actually now solving real problems, because that level of requirements is already addressed. I also think that it will make it easy for people to actually do certain things. So today, some of the use cases we're trying, for example, in our call center and so on, is that when a customer calls in, we are able to actually already get a high-level summary of how many times they've called in the last so many months or whatever, and what they've mostly called about. You're also able to see what's the most used product, even before they tell you what the issue is. We're trying also to see what's the last product they used. So the agent is then able to actually relate with the customer immediately, as opposed to the customer having to narrate their experience over the last so many days or weeks in terms of why they're calling you. So for me, this is about simplifying how we serve customers, and in the end, customers will get a better experience from us. We're also using AI. In fact, we're just completing something with our tech team where we will start to having what I would call like a customer experience index, that I can tell that, Akim, you are in over the last 2 days, this is the kind of experience you've been getting on your mobile phone, and I'll proactively send out an engineer to that area to try and resolve that problem, so that you don't have to call or you don't have to say, I'm getting such a terrible experience with Vodacom. So these are some of the capabilities that we're able to get immediately.
Is it on a network level then, or more on what was reported to you?
No. This is at a network level. So
it's proactive.
It's very proactive, and you don't have to call. I can see it and on an ongoing basis be able to improve the service that we're giving customers. But that's if I look at it internally. But I think for customers, whether it's doctors, financial institutions, in education and so on, there are hundreds of use cases that we're now starting to see where doctors can actually diagnose faster, diagnose better. And I think what they're going to be requiring is actually make sure that the connectivity to allow them to do all these things is there. So I think the opportunities are limitless in the world of AI, or at least in my limited knowledge on what the potential is going to be. And I think as Vodacom, we are excited. We do have a group-led practice around AI, including how we should use AI capabilities ethically to make sure customers are protected, customer data is protected, and I think that helps that you're able to get best practice from the group and localize it in the market.
All right.
Yeah.
The mobile sector, telco sector, we can say, is a sector of sectors. So when we look at the Vodacom, so you have financial inclusion, you have your maternity support program solution, you do lending. So what is next? What is the next natural evolution for Vodacom?
The world of opportunities is limitless for us. I do believe that we are basically that layer and that will enable multiple opportunities, use cases, and challenges in unlock challenges in the world. Like I said, if I look at and that's why I said earlier on, many countries in the world, digital capability has become really the cornerstone of how they evolve, and that's the same. That's the case also for Tanzania with their Vision 2050. In fact, the Ministry of ICT in Tanzania recently launched their Digital Tanzania project of which is, I think, until 2034. And if you look at what's in there, a lot of it is the things that we're already talking about or doing and implementing in Vodacom Tanzania. So the next, for me, I think anything and everything is possible with tech. When I spoke about beyond mobile earlier on, some of the things that we are looking at presently, or even trying with its government or with other private sector players, is, for example, the use of IoT capability in utilities. Today we have pilots that we are running with water utilities in some cities and towns in Tanzania, where they want to detect water leakages. They want to be able to automatically provision or unprovision customers for water services if they've paid or not paid. The electricity company is also looking at being able to monitor vandalism on some of their infrastructure. We've got mining companies that are now running some solutions from us with regards to unmanned vehicles. You've got also using that for health, safety, and the well-being of miners. To track things like temperature within the mines and all of these things, quality of air and these kind of things. We currently talking to, for example, the city of Dar es Salaam about traffic management and so on. So, what are the use cases? Countless. What are the opportunities? I believe we can really do a lot with, but all this is going to be underpinned by, obviously, partnerships. Some of these things we can do directly, but also we are very, very we're very strong and big on partnerships. The success we've had in, for example, M-Pesa, a lot of it is because of partnerships that we've been able to build with either, banks, fintechs, and other adjacent solution providers that really enable us. So I think the power, over and above everything else that we've been able to do, whether it's through innovation, investment in tech and platforms and so on, the power of our ability to actually partner and partner meaningfully has also made us attractive for other players within the ecosystem to say, okay, we want to do that with Vodacom because we see they've been successful with that. Yeah.
There are two big sectors which we, let's say, realized over the last few years, which from our perspective having a huge potential also for underserved and rural areas with agri-tech and with healthcare. Those are two fields. On one side, with agri-tech, you see that it could have a huge potential to, let's say, create jobs, and healthcare just to, let's say, increase the quality of, let's say, health and life in rural, semi-rural areas. Is that something we say is something you look into it in the near future? Is that something you already, let's say, had a look at and have an opinion about it?
Yeah, no, absolutely. We have. That's why I said that. You asked me at the start to summarize 25 years, and I told you I wasn't sure if we would have enough time. But believe it or not, we do already have a very successful agri-tech solution that we call M-Kulima in Tanzania. And again, in partnership with one of the Vodacom subsidiaries, Mezzanine. And in this space, what we do, so one of the use cases there is with regards to payments to farmers. So because they're buying inputs, whether it's fertilizers, seeds, and so on, and we've partnered with Mezzanine, who have a robust platform that allows us to do this with them, and integrated that into M-Pesa. Two, there's solutions around agri-loan products, because these farmers, especially when they're in season, they have high need for capital to invest in the season, right? Either for fertilizers, crops, irrigation, and all of these things. So these are sort of capital intensive sort of seasons, so during the crop season. So the Mezzanine platform allows us to do this, and then post harvest sort of almost like finding a marketplace for buyers. So today we're running a pilot in a place called Njombe for a marketplace for potatoes. And what they will be doing is that the farmers on this platform can actually look at the global market price and choose which off-taker to sell their product to. Previously, they had no visibility of this, and you take whatever price you get from whoever comes to you first. But now they can actually see, okay, I actually can get a better price from Akim and not from so and so. So empowers them. We're also working on an information management system with this same platform, whereby you can actually see what the weather conditions will be like over the next few months as you plan to plant, or as you plan to harvest or whatever. So they can already see this on the information management side. On the tech side, we've done a few interesting things. On the HealthTech side, we've done a few interesting things. This started way back during COVID, for example, where we, again, using the Mezzanine platform, we're able to deploy a vaccine storage and management system with the government, so that they could manage the vaccine inventory distribution a lot more efficiently. Since then, there are other modules we've been able to build on top of that, but we're now looking at actually putting in place, or rather deploying, the successful health information management system in Vodafone Egypt, try and see if we can also extend it into Tanzania. And with this, hospital information management will get better. Insurance premium management will get better. Appointment management will get better. And there are a few hospitals that are very interested in this, and we are talking to them. So, and that's with regards to just information management. But with the technology, with our continuous investment in technology, today we are investing. We are actually at this point in time, we are investing almost $100 million in the modernization of our network over a period of 18 months. And this is complete modernization of our radio access network, which allows us to have 4G across the entire country and across our entire network, but also expand our 5G network. And with 5G, telemedicine is going to become even a bigger reality, whereby doctors in the capital are able to work with doctors in remote areas to actually guide them on certain procedures and so on. And we've been able, for example, to deploy even technologies as you know, as let me say, as limited as fixed wireless access into hospitals that previously had no connectivity at all, right? And now all of a sudden they're online. They can order for their inventory for medicines to stock up their pharmacies and so on and so forth. Things that previously required a phone call, things that previously required someone driving to the national medical stores and then only to be told, no, we're out of stock. Now they can plug into the national database and see what's available and order online. And that's just with, solutions as limited as fixed wireless access. So I think there's so many sub use cases within the HealthTech that we are working on, but also that we are complementing through our partnerships either with companies that are already doing things within with Vodacom Group or with other Vodacom
So you don't need
subsidiaries.
to reinvent the wheel.
We don't have to reinvent the wheel. All solutions that are already in some of the Vodacom markets, like I said, like Vodafone Egypt with their health insurance platform.
It almost feels like you can see my talking points, because my next question would have been 3G, 4G, and the evolution of networks, 5G. So what is your take on that? What is your strategy, and where do you see let's say, Tanzania will, let's say, move within the next 5 years? So we have of course the issue of devices. Do we have enough 5G devices, 4G devices? Then we have affordability, etc. So what do you see in terms of development?
The good thing is that that's our forte. tell us tech, and we get excited because we're very good at that. And over the years we've kept up with the trends, and in many instances actually gone ahead of demand and or ahead of the curve, and actually invested in these things, tried new technology before anybody else did. We were the first to deploy 5G in Tanzania, and today, even though not at the scale we would want it to be, we still have the biggest 5G network in Tanzania. And we believe that we will continue to invest in our 5G capability. But I think to your question, we are modernizing our entire network today and making sure we future-proof ourselves from and continue to, so that we can continue to grow and are fit for growth, fit for purpose. So this new network will allow us. We'll be able to use all the spectrum that we've acquired over the years, and we will not have any limitation on our network, save for our ability to continue growing, which I still believe there's still a lot of growth in Tanzania. So that's on the infrastructure level, because if you solve that, then you're able to do all these things that I'm talking about.
Just a quick question on the infrastructure level. So we see technology is also accelerating quite fast. When you talk about modernization, I mean, the technology is in place where you can have more capacity through radio, way more than probably 5 years ago, even from, let's say, energy usage as well, so, or energy consumption. So how do you modernize the network in that regards?
And that's really where I was going with this, because when I say future fit, I think the new technologies that are sort of coming out of the OEM factories or the R&D environments are scalable. So I think gone are the days where it was a box that if
Heavy
you needed
legacy
to
business.
legacy, where if you need to modernize, then you have to layer something on top of that. Today, with the network that we are laying out, for example, we come with full carrier aggregation, which means that irrespective of what spectrum we have, we can actually apply it all at a license level. I don't need to put in a new box.
All right.
Even at a radio level, So many radios were sort of configured up to the 3,500 megahertz. Today, you have radios that are open all the way to the 3.8, which just means it's limitless. You can actually do a lot more. So that's the direction that we've gone with regards to that. But what's also happened, because energy efficiency is really key, which goes back to the question or the discussion around purpose. It's integral to our discussion and consideration when we are talking to vendors. So it's not just about what's the latest and best tech, but does it also make us more efficient with regards to energy? So if you look at our current deployment with the modernization, already we're seeing a 30+% improvement in energy utilization. It's got more capacity, more features, but also more energy efficient.
And you reduce the cost of
and
operation.
we're reducing the cost of energy to the business, but most importantly, our carbon footprint. So that's really, for me, that's killing not just two birds, but many birds with one stone. So the energy, the technology is very futuristic, but most importantly, adaptable or scalable to future use cases. We don't have to take that layer out. We can actually build on top of it and achieve even more going forward, especially because they've made most of these technologies configurable, meaning that at least the box can stay in and you can do a lot more on top of it. So that's on the one hand. I think the other point I would like to make on technology is also investment in fiber, which allows us to make, because we believe that with a lot more investment in 4G and 5G, you have to also invest in the transport layer.
Yeah.
So, and you can only do so much with microwave backhaul. So fiber allows us to actually carry a lot more data more efficiently to the site. And now the next level is actually from the site to the home. So whilst mobile has been our biggest play, fiber to the home is now another opportunity that we're aggressively pursuing, and will become a big home player in the immediate future. And we are putting in a lot of effort, whether it's our own teams, product capability, infrastructure investment, and so on, so that we can become a key home, a key player in the home space, because connectivity at the home is going to be important, because no one wants to be offline.
True.
Because I only get connectivity at the office or in my business premises, and then when I get home, I want to watch all these things on TV, or I want to do all these things from work from home, and I don't get the right connectivity or speeds. So we're also investing a lot in terms of fiber to the home.
So what role would satellite play in that regards, especially for rural and semi-rural areas?
Yep. And we've looked at our fixed strategy in a fall layers.
Yeah.
There is using existing technology, point-to-point microwave or point-to-multipoint microwave. So that will be one capability. We'll also be able to use the existing mobile network, especially with 5G, and to an extent 4G for what some people call fixed LTE. So those two will be mobile-led. The third level or layer will be on fiber, so fixed. And then we're also looking at satellite as another technology that will complement our fixed strategy. And yes, to remote areas. And as you would know, Tanzania is blessed with, in its vastness, but we've got, massive, game parks and reserves, and there's lots of facilities out there that require connectivity. And sometimes it does not make economic sense to actually build the traditional mobile network at those places, because then you'd have to build 40, 50 base stations for backhaul, carrying no traffic, or carrying traffic that's not being used, carrying no traffic actually, to be able to service just one endpoint. So in those instances, satellite will play a key role to provide connectivity to those. So it is part of our tech mix in as far as fixed is concerned. Yeah.
So when you look at 5G, is that more like, for the next few years, more like a B2B solution rather than a B2C?
Yes, absolutely. And that's where our fixed wireless comes in. So most of our customers on 5G are actually using fixed wireless access. And I think in the short term, that's what short to medium term, those will be the main use cases for 5G. Of course, the device ecosystem for a B2C use case to be successful, the device costs need to come down. They're starting to come down if you look at where 5G devices were priced at 2 years ago and where they are today. Prices are starting to drop, but it will probably take another 2 years before you really get to good price points that allow for massive adoption of 5G devices. But also, truth be told, there is also so much speed someone needs on your phone, right? Yes, maybe you want to download movies much faster, but there will be a point at which an additional speed doesn't really make a difference.
The use case for the user?
What's the use case? And that's why I think going into these beyond mobile use cases, when I speak about IoT, whether it's connected homes, in mines, agriculture, education, and all these, those are the use cases that actually 5G is going to be able to unlock. And what's important here, and I think this is where being part of a group is helpful, is that what are some of these capabilities that the Vodacom Group is able to develop at scale, and we just reuse in market. So whether it's education, health, agriculture, and so on, that will be because you need content, and yes, there will be need for. We are also working with the local developer ecosystem to get local content for use, but I think being able to overarch that with some of these global use cases, whether it's like education, we've we have some education use cases that we've projects that we've done in Tanzania where we have education platforms that we're using, but you want that at scale so that more schools can connect and so on. Then 5G becomes very compelling because you have a use for it. Yeah.
Before I let you leave, because I see we already run over time a bit, I would like to ask you, if you would have a wish list of 3 things, 3 action items which immediately could take action, what would it be for Tanzania?
That's a trick question. I don't know. Is my boss listening? Because I might be tempted to say CapEx. No, look, I think first for me is policy at the government level. We need policy certainty because that really unlocks opportunities for everyone, for ourselves, for the customer, for government. So really policy certainty is going to be key, and that's where we're talking about taxation and some other policy matters. For example, the national long distance fiber in Tanzania at the moment is exclusive to the government company, and you know what that means when there's exclusivity in service. Quality, cost, service levels, all these things get impacted, and in the end, obviously, it's the customer that faces the brunt of this decelerated service levels and so on. So I think policy is always going to be a big thing for me in terms of service. The second one I would say, and I think Vodacom is one of the G6, the group of the big telcos on the continent. We have to be able to bring the cost of devices down. And for me, it's an ask to the OEMs and everybody in that ecosystem. We have to be able to bring the cost of the device down. Otherwise, all these things that we talk about, that I've spent all this hour plus talking about, are nothing but a pipe dream. Very hard to achieve, very far. If we cannot bring them into the hands of the customer, and you can only do all these things, whether it's agri-tech, health-tech, edu-tech, financial inclusion meaningfully. If somebody's got a smartphone in their hands and the OEMs have got a big role to play here. Of course, there's also policy on the other side, like I said at the beginning, because taxation and so on. But the cost of the device has to come down really quite rapidly, and that's, I would say, is the second thing. I think the third thing I would say, we need the skills to continue growing and growing to keep up with where the industry is going. We are doing a few things as a Vodacom and other private sector players to upskill, reskill. But all these AI skills that we talk about and so on, I think we are going to be in short supply of these skills very soon. So I think government education policies and enabling that sector to also thrive is really important, because we will be short of IT engineers, we will be short of AI engineers very soon if we don't really invest in that. So I think enabling that area to also scale and keep up with all these innovations and releases that are coming from the tech world is going to be key. Today, one of the challenges we face as Vodacom Tanzania is that we train all these people, expose them to different parts of the group, and we have everyone else outside there knocking at our doors, trying to tell them, but if you come to the bank, we can do X, Y, and Z for you. So limited skills, and you really have to do a lot to upskill, but also to retain them. So I think trying to grow that pipeline and make sure that we have as many skilled people out there to be able to do these things is important. But it's not just for employment, but also for usage. These things, this needs to become as basic as ABC. In schools, they need to teach, basic computer literacy and all these things, so that it becomes just as natural as teaching arithmetic in primary school.
Are you optimistic?
Very optimistic. I see growth, and Perfect. I see us solving the world's problems.
Perfect. Thank you very much. It was really a pleasure and very interesting to talking to you. Thanks for your time.
Thank you very much. It was really exciting to share my own perspective of the world in Tanzania.
Thank you. We catch up in 5 years again.
Thank you. 5 years? I thought next year. Thank you. Thank you so much.